there's going to be some adjustments. I'm going to have to adjust things. I don't think it looks too bad a angle going into the new building.
Now I've adapted this Bachmann sort of cement chute for my own means. I think it's going to work out quite well. The idea is to have the cement mixers drive underneath and can be filled. And I've done a bit of a mock-up of possible sort of conveyor belt or feed to a building that will go over the top of the railway and will be a loader for wagons going through. And I'm not sure about pipe work going into it, possible pipe work. That's why I've left this in place, even though it seems a bit of a thin pipe to me. But this and maybe a bigger pipe, and then I don't know, maybe a slim building here that has got pipe feed to this cement hopper, and pipes coming out of the building with the silos beneath, and a bigger building at the back which processes and makes the cement. I'm not sure about a chimney. I don't know if that would be applicable. It would have been if it had been a grain silo, I think, or sort of a wheat manufacturer, because they would have cooked stuff. So I'm not sure about a chimney. So if I stand back, this is where I propose to bridge the gap with another building over here, which leads on to the main building over here. So I've got to build something in this corner, probably into the hillside as a staging point that handles conveyor belts either side, and then goes into either this building or the building that will be covering the rafter a little bit at the bottom. Then I'm going to work out what sort of roof and what sort of stuff and detailing I want to put on the building, pipe work and other various bits and pieces, just to give it some interest. And this conveyor belt going down, or a chute or whatever, to the loader, as I said. More pipe work, maybe pipe work going across on sort of like a metal sort of girder bridge, carrying pipe work into the hillside where it might be buried and taken to the main factory. Maybe fuel for running the machinery, sort of oil piping, don't know. I've got grand ideas, whether it'll come off or not, I don't know. On a side note, I bought this plethora 12-ton crane, and I was looking at it at Ali Pali, as Colonel Model Railway had it for sale, because I think it was commissioned by them to be made, but they wanted £85 for this, and I thought it was a bit too much and forgot all about it. Then I see it online at another model shop for, I think it was £74 something, free postage. And I didn't do my homework. I should have done my homework, because I'm not very happy with it really. I got it expecting to sort of pose it in operation, only to find out after reading afterwards, which I should have done before, that it's a totally static model, to the point that the jib doesn't work, doesn't expand, it doesn't turn, it just sits as it is now. So it's effectively just another glorified carriage when you pull it around, with loads of lovely detail. But I think even at £75, this is a crazy price for something that doesn't even have the ability to be posed on your layout to show it in action. And I did buy it, as you well know. I like to pose the railway being worked on with guys working on the rails, and that's why I bought it. I did propose to use it in an action scene, only to find out it doesn't do any more than what it's doing now, and that's it.
So I'm really disappointed with this. Can't really send it back because there's nothing wrong with it, and I should have read probably the small print that it doesn't do nothing other than just sit on the rails. Be it highly detailed, it's a lovely looking model, but even Hornby cranes, you can pose them. You don't expect it to work to the full extent, but you do expect to be able to turn the cab on the crane and extend the arm. So yeah, I'm really disappointed with this, and for the money I think that's extortionate price for something that just sits there. What a missed opportunity. Real shame. All the work that's gone into designing this, it wouldn't have taken much more to be able to move the jib in and out and turn the cab. You know, even if the cabling with the hook didn't go up and down, at least that would be something. But just to sit there as a very detailed wagon for all this money, yeah, I think this is a rip-off, and I would avoid it. If I'd known what I know now, I definitely wouldn't have bought it. I can't believe they can sell this for that price. And if people don't buy them, they're probably going to be selling for about 20 quid, I think, in the end. What I'm doing is loosely based on a lot of photographs I've looked at of factories of a similar nature, really. Aggregate and cement factories and grain factories, just sort of picking ideas from some of these buildings, which I'm sure are bespoke. You know, none of them look exactly the same, and mine will look pretty unique as well, I think, when I'm finished. I'm continuing the main build of the factory, and what I'm doing is building some conveyor belt sort of tubes that go between buildings. To make the conveyor belts, what I'm doing is gluing 15mm wide strips together, a 15mm one at the bottom, and then cladding it and putting a lid on, basically, and then cutting them to length if I need to cut them to length later. At one time, I did actually think of buying some electrical trunking that you can get this sort of size, and I was thinking that might be the easy way of doing it, but I don't think the lid would have looked convincing, because what I'm doing is cladding the side, which makes the diameter a little bit bigger, but then the lid on top, I've got it sort of overhanging a little bit so it comes over the plasticard a fraction, and it looks like a nice concrete lid. As there was a Yeovil factory that I've been looking at online, have got conveyor belts covered like this, and they don't seem to have tin roofs, and I thought I'd go for this for a change. And it looks like a slab on top when you've got a piece of this sitting on top that goes across. A nice concrete slab all the way down, and looks quite interesting. So yeah, I didn't think trunking would also glue that well if I wanted to glue anything, even though I could use a PVC sort of glue like I've already used on pipe work and stuff. But Foamex is very easy to work with, and it's very easy to make your own bit of trunking really, so that's what I've done. And as for one I did earlier, which I can show you, this is what it looks like. So clad down the side with a corrugated effect, which possibly is some sort of tin covering, metal galvanised sheet covering. That's what it looks like on this factory that I'm looking at. And then there seems to be a slab on top. Now, whether it is metal or concrete, I don't know, but it all blends in a sort of a concrete sort of colour, and probably covered in the dust and stuff from the actual factory, as it will all get weathered eventually. But yeah, that's basically what I'm putting together to make a conveyor belt, just so it's different to the other conveyor belts I've bought or used on the layout, and it's nice and chunky to take whatever. And I'm going to get on putting some more cladding on the side of these, what I've just made, and progress it a bit more. So if I show you parts of the main building, this part here, what I'm going to do is have this conveyor belt come out the side of that building and down to a trackside building, which will go over the rails, and this will go in front, so you won't see it from this side, and a building coming out here, and possibly a slim building here with pipe work going across to this delivery system for the cement mixers, and more stuff on the other side with more conveyor belts bridging the gap between here and the factory. That's why I want at least 3 conveyor belts. This conveyor belt won't be at such a steep angle when I'm finished, because it will go into the building probably more of that sort of angle. But I've yet to build a building that's going to go over the rail tracks. I also noticed that in looking at pictures, the silos tend to have an overhanging lip on the top of them. So what I did was get a pen and put the pen against the side of the tubes, which is ordinary waste pipe that I glued together with hot melt glue, and trying to keep them level was the hardest thing, but now they're together, they're pretty good and they're quite solid. But yeah, I drew around these with a pen, keeping the pen against it to give an even gap all the way round, and I just traced round doing that, and then I glued the pipe to the 3mm Foamex ball with a pipe glue that is used for gluing waste pipe together, and that's almost melts and welds it together, and that's done a good job of gluing it on top. So if I turn it up that way, I don't know if I can back the camera up. No, I'll have to move the camera physically, but you can now see the top overhangs a bit more, maybe I've got a little bit more refining to do, a bit more rubbing down. And what was the top I've left on, it's now becoming the bottom, and that will just blend in with the base that it's sitting on. But it does look better with them overhanging. As I said, in photos they're like that. Quite often they've got a small hut on top, and that's what I've made. And that's just made out of Foamex and then covered with a corrugated plasticard. And that will all be glued on there in a sort of centralised position, and I'm probably going to have pipes coming out of the side here, because a lot of the photos I've looked at, there's pipes feeding the silos. So that's basically what I did to put this together. Right, what I've done there is cut up a bit of Tufnell tubing that I've got. I imagine you could get tubing from anywhere. It's, I don't know, it's about 6-8mm tubing. It's actually about 9mm on the outside diameter. But I'm going to rig up some sort of gantry which takes the pipe across from one building to the other, so like the main building across to the cement hopper that supplies lorries that go underneath it. So I'll be gluing these on, and these are just 3D printed struts that you can buy. Just get them on eBay really. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but I'm just making it up just to portray a gantry what takes the piping across, as the pipe wouldn't really be strong enough on its own to go across, bridge a gap, and possibly wouldn't look right. And from what pictures I've seen, there's usually support for piping. Now I'm going to get on and glue that together. In fact, I could paint it first, but I think I'd rather glue it, as it will glue better to the actual material without painting it, in case it pulls away from the paint, or the paint pulls away from the actual tubing. But yeah, I'm going to glue that together now. I think I'm going to use a 2-part epoxy to glue it, as there's not a lot of surface area for super glue to glue it together. Plus, I don't think it will stick as well as a 2-part epoxy. So quick drying, 5-minute Aerodite in this case. This could all go terribly wrong. But we'll see. I've got to try and hold it in place and keep it square. Make sure there's no blobs of glue that aren't too obvious. The whole thing's going to get sprayed anyway. I've just gone and got a couple of blocks of wood with nice square sides on them, and I shall just hold them together for a little bit. But this will go off in 5 minutes, or at least be rigid 5 minutes. It'll take 24 hours to go off solid. But meanwhile you can paint it though, which I've done. Right, I've just used 2mm square plastic bar that you can buy online, and I've just put it across the bottom of the infrastructure for the pipe, and this will make it believable that it's being held in place by this gantry, and just adds a bit of interest between the buildings, and it would be needed to carry cement across from the main building. And this pipe is going to fit in right here. Obviously it's not sprayed yet, it's in its original colours, but I will spray this to match the building, which is also not sprayed yet, and just a basic building, without any detailing yet. But I think that makes it believable that there's pipe coming across to feed this hopper. I don't know where I'm going to have a building here. This is just here to give me sort of prompts and ideas, really. So that may be a gap like that between the buildings. Possibly will do. I think that looks quite good. And this will also allow me to look through to the building what's going to be over the track. It's going to feed any of the traffic that goes through it. So it'd be nice to be able to see through the building. I know this process is all over the place, but I'm deciding to do different bits at different times, and I've got one of the conveyor belts that I've made, and it's going to go in this tall building that's going to have the silos in front of it. And in order to sort of work out where everything else goes, I need to have an idea of what sort of angle this is going to sit at. So I'm going to cut an aperture for it, and the silos will sit to this side. So here goes. The aperture will vary on depth depending what angle I put the conveyor belt into it. But with the beauty of Fomex, I can just put a knife through this and cut this out quite easily. I don't know if I can show you this, but this is what I'm up to. So to drop this angle down more, I'm going to have to open this hole up a bit more. But before I do that, I may want this particular angle because there's going to be a building here, and I think it's going to go in the side of the building, which then goes over the tracks. So I don't want to rush to make this hole too big. So I can now offer it back up to the main site that I'm working on and see how it sits. Well, that's the plan anyway. Now with everything in place, you can see what I mean. The angle of the conveyor belt is possibly about right, depending on how big the building I build, or bigger building I build. I'm constantly thinking on what I'm going to do, so apologies for the hesitation in between what I'm telling you, as I'm actually thinking as I'm talking to you, and I'm thinking the building might be sort of bigger than I first thought, and that would allow the conveyor belt to go in the top of it. So I'm not going to rush, as I said, to make that hole any bigger. I think what I need to do now is to start work on the building over the railway. that's going to feed wagons that go through it, so I know what size I'm going to sort of add to the whole complex, as it's hard to sort of work out the rest of it without having this building to sort of work off of. Well, I've taken it a little bit further. I've got the 4 walls together of the delivery system, I suppose, the building that fills up wagons as they go through, and I've sort of got the conveyor belt, if I can turn the camera around, in place, but there's going to be some adjustments. I'm going to have to adjust things. I don't think it looks too bad an angle going into the new building. I've been thinking it all through again, and I don't think it's going to be believable having such a short lead in from the main line, as the wagons will be going so slow into this filling station that, you know, it would be a danger. I really haven't got a long enough lead in, really, but to make it look more believable, I'm now actually thinking of not having a conveyor belt on this side. Even though I thought it looked good, I'm now actually thinking of moving, if I come back here, this filling station building to being level with the main building, even though there's a curve, as the wagons won't be starting to be loaded until this point, which gives a reasonable lead in to the complex. It's hard to show you really on camera. I'll stand back in a minute and rearrange the buildings to show you what I mean. Right, I've just readjusted the building to my sort of more up-to-date thoughts on how I'm going to do it, and I think the conveyor belt's going to have to go. I have seen these type of buildings that are fed with pipes anyway. I think even grain silos have pipes going down into a loading system for the railway, and I think that's what I'll do, because after all it's going to be cement that's loaded into this primarily, as aggregate will be loaded in the loader on my other factory. So this is going to be primarily cement, so I think just a pipe will be good enough, even though aggregate will be going into the other side of the building. As I will have this conveyor belt system still in place coming across the complex and going into the rear of the large building, aggregating what's going to be converted to be used with the cement process, I suppose. As you appreciate, it's very hard to get things that look somewhat right to the real world when you're dealing with quite small spaces on a layout, but I think moving the loading area back to that point will make it look better to the eye and a bit more believable, and certainly not as dangerous as having all the wagons hanging out on the main line while they're being loaded. I do have to adjust the building somewhat to take this new arrangement, so I'm going to have to redo the loading station or adapt it somehow, as the rails start curving at that point. As usual, if you do have any ideas on the build, you might have seen something pretty obvious that I haven't noticed and could help me in this build, I'll be quite grateful to hear from you. But, you know, constructive comments, please. I mean, there's loads of things you can nitpick, and I'm nowhere near finishing, so saying that something doesn't look right because it's not painted or something is just a wasted comment, really. You can see that I've got a long way to go, and I'm nowhere near even detailing it yet. So main constructive sort of comments would be good for the layout and stuff of the factory, really. So thanks very much for all your comments from my last update. I do appreciate, you know, all the nice comments about the channel achieving 4K subscribes. Very pleased with that, and I hope the channel continues to grow and you continue to enjoy watching. So cheers for now, thanks very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye now, or even bye for now.